Major League Journeymen. What's up, gentlemen? How are we? Daniel Charles Gargan reporting live from St. Louis, Missouri at the Lufuse Athletic Training Center, joined by none other than my two homeboys, Dex McCarthy and Alan Gordofsky. Gentlemen, always good to see you. Always happy to have you on the pod. I missed last week. I thought you guys did
Excellent.
a pretty strong job. Gordo, you know where I'm going.
Uh,
I
yeah.
would like for you, now that it's not blind, top three. Give me your top three, one, two, three. Now that you've had time to reflect on all this, now you've had time.
I'm not doing this again. I'm
No, I
not doing
want
it
you to
again.
piss off. I want you to piss off more people.
No, I'm not doing it again because the rules were shifted in Dax's favor, and I'm not happy about. And listen, I got to give
It's
him
your list,
credit.
buddy. It's your
Hey,
list.
listen, I should have known he does this in horse. I'm sure he does it in pickleball. He does it in all aspects of his life. He is very, very good at it, and he got me. I said, I had this great plan. I was going to do teammates who is my lifelong friends that really I spent time with. It was going to be heartfelt. And then I did my whole saga. I put myself on the chopping block because that was the
Uh-huh.
wrong way to go.
Uh-huh.
And Dax is like, oh, just all-time stats with my players. So I don't get any backlash or anything. And I'm not gonna, and you have no personal feeling whatsoever. I'm not doing top
It's just
three
not
because
true.
the rules are just not outlined. We need to have a better
It's
outline of
it's it's
what that
however
is.
you wanted to
You got
interpret
to
it.
read the fine print, Gordo. You
I
can't just
said,
head into it blind.
yeah.
Which way would you have gone, Gargs? Would you
With
have
what?
gone like teammates that you really enjoyed to play with, or are you
Uh-huh.
going just like, oh,
These
these are
blind
my
but Gordo,
superstars that I played with,
these
like
blind
Thierry Henry
rankings,
and
but
shit
you
like that?
Gordo, you were choosing the players for me. So you
I
didn't have
know.
to choose any of those guys. You could have chosen Nathan Sturgis. You could have chosen Tony Chani. You could have chosen
Tony
whoever.
TT.
Oh,
Yeah,
what a
TT
great
Chani.
name.
you could have
Keep going.
chosen
Keep going.
Arturo Alvarez. You could have chosen any of these guys I played with because it is a blind ranking. You didn't have to put
Right.
the best players I played with on
You're
the
right.
list, but
You're right.
that's why I say it's up to the interpretation, For the socials, did we cut out your explanations? Sure, because it makes you look funny.
Yeah.
But if people listen to the pod, they'll know, okay, Gordo's not choosing Steven Lenhart over Robbie Keane for skill and talent,
Uh,
Yeah.
but because he wants to cuddle with him, at night or something like that,
he did cuddle with him.
Yeah, you
Hey,
cuddled with
that
him
that
all the time.
was that was actually a fun segment. And I
Sure.
told you last week, going through your past teammates, that's a fun thing to do. Like
Yeah.
How about
any
this? How about this, Gordo? For the next time we do that, it's going to be totally random. It's just going to be 10 of the most
oh,
obscure,
That'd be
no-name
good.
teammates that all of us
bro,
have had.
Yeah.
the gloves are off. Anytime I get into any kind of this blind anything, I'm gonna
You live
ask.
your life blind, Gordo. What are you
Yeah.
I
talking
don't
about, dude?
care. Yeah, so I'm gonna be great in the dark. Think about that.
He's
Think
like he's
about
like
that.
Bane. He was
I'm
raised in the
like,
darkness.
yeah, I am. Dude. That call me that. I'm Bane.
Uh,
We will call you the darkness. How good is that, dude? The two names you brought up, Nathan Sturgis and Tony Tachani, are two names I haven't thought about in a while, but
Did
yeah.
we
two
all
great
play
nicknames.
with both of them? Did we all play with
Storkus.
both of them?
Storkus was his nickname. He
Sturginho.
Sturginho,
Nate
like he was
Storkus,
Stork.
he was the
It's
best, most underrated, gangly, doesn't look like a soccer player you've ever seen.
looked like
King of the
a
Cruyff.
robotic librarian that still could pull off any pass that he wanted to. It was, dude, he was impressive, man.
And by the way, had the worst groins of all time.
Of all
Like
time.
He was
he had
he
like a
was a
chronic issue.
We were the same age, and he turned, I think when for his 21st birthday, he turned 32. Like
Yeah,
that, his body was a 32-year-old man.
Oh
dude.
yeah. Oh
He
yeah.
was a good dude. I like Storgus. And then how about you were Gordo, were you still in Toronto? You were still in Toronto with
I
Tony,
had him.
right?
I had him there, and I had him in Chicago.
Chicago.
Oh
He was
my
my sworn
God.
enemy in Chicago. He was my sworn enemy, and then he ended up being in the same locker room as me in Chicago. And then you look at each other and you're like, all right, we're got to be friends now.
Dude, he was a funny dude. I remember. Do you remember Bob DeClercq nicknaming him? Bob DeClercq, the assistant in Toronto, walked in one day and he said, "I shall call you TT." And then that was it. And like he'd be yelling this across the field, and everyone would be like, "Oh my God, what is wrong with this dude?" Bob DeClercq, not a well-respected name
I,
in that
I
locker
mean,
room.
TT had an explanation for every play and
Everything.
every practice or every game he
Yeah.
ever had. He
Yeah.
would talk to you about it for 15 minutes after. Like, I wish I could do an impersonation of him. I'm like, TT, I don't give a shit. It's
Dude, I
practice on a
know.
Tuesday,
It
dude.
was, dude, it was the wrong decision. Tony, just let it go, man.
It wasn't it, bro. It wasn't it.
It was never him. It was not me. It was not me. Oh, dude. How about him and Danley Boardman
Damn.
and the
Yeah.
arguments that those two used to get into? Oh my God. Like Red Bull legends. They were
Let's
hilarious.
let's
We
do
got
this
them as a
for
package deal.
let's do this for a quick second because Tony Chani was. If I had to choose like one player in my prime who was like kind of like my arch nemesis. You know that one guy you went up against all the time because they were either
Yeah.
in your conference or you played against them a bunch. When I was on Red Bull and he was on Columbus, it was him and Will Trapp in the middle and those great Columbus teams, and we had great Red Bull teams. Every time we played Columbus, it was just all out battle royale with me and
Mm-hmm.
Chani. So
Mm-hmm.
so he was like one of my biggest arch nemesis in Major League Soccer history, and we would just chirp nonstop. Oh man, you're crap. Why do you get traded all the time? You're
Uh-huh.
nobody likes you. Like just not even anything crossing the line, but like just a really good player. And when we
Yeah.
played against each other, it was always a battle. Who is that for you guys?
Well, I had some pretty good battles against Robbie Rogers. Because he was like your prototypical left winger, and
Yeah.
when I loved playing against him because he was such a smart, elegant player that did not like contact. Like, not that he wasn't strong, because he was as strong as an ox, but
Right.
that wasn't really his thing. And I loved the competition against him. I always like really looked forward to it, and then became great friends and great teammates with him in LA. That was one of the first names that came to mind. I don't know. I always got lined
Robbie
up
doesn't
against like
strike
these.
me as the type of guy that was going to chirp back at you though.
Robbie, no, Robbie's he's got a little dig
He
to
got a
him.
little
Yeah,
dig to you? Okay.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, we would talk shit to each other. Absolutely.
Gordo?
Um, Mine's easy, but I forgot his name. What's Drew?
Dude, Drew Moore. Drew Moore
Not
is your
Drew
arch
Moore.
nemesis.
Drew Moore was my arch
Mine's easy,
nemesis.
but I forgot who it was.
Because
I
I
did
don't care about it.
names do not stay in my brain.
Drew
Okay,
Moore?
Chad
Drew Moore?
Drew,
Marshall. You had great
Drew,
battles with Chad Marshall too.
Drew Moore and Chad Marshall are the two. Drew Moore, him and I almost came to. I literally wanted to take him into the parking lot, and I just I ran. I mean, you play against these guys for 15 years.
Yeah, right.
We battled on, and he was just such a little bee when we played. And I ran into him at the Rapids game because he was working for Colorado, and I had my kids take a picture with him, and we dabbed it up, and I told my boys, I was like, I I used to hate this guy, like hate, and he hated me back, and here we are, we're grown adults, and we can hug it out.
It's funny because all three of the players that we named, we all cross paths with them at later times in our career because it is such an
Hmm.
insular, small soccer
Mhm.
community that you
Yep.
just almost have to laugh and you have to say, okay, well, we used to talk shit all the time, and now here we are dapping up. Oh, take a picture with my kids. Oh, Tony and Robbie, we're teammates now. All right, I guess bygones are gonna be bygones. That's the
Yeah,
MLS community for you.
yeah.
It is the MLS community for you. Who's the one dude that I'm still not past, and I'm still not over it? Alejandro Moreno. Hated him.
Okay.
Absolutely hated playing against him. And he would float out wide, but he was more, typically a striker.
Yeah.
I couldn't stand anything about him, and we have not met at a random stadium and dapped it out yet. But maybe in our future, we'll see. Who knows?
He's got to be top five most hated players of all time from opposing teams.
Easily,
Yeah.
easily. I
He
think
he
he'd
could
be,
he
he'd
could rub
be
you the wrong way
in the
real
blind
easy.
ranking. I'm pretty sure most people would throw
Number
him at
one.
number one pretty
Yeah,
easily.
yeah.
Um, Speaking of this is a good segue, Dax, because I guess, a bromance gone wrong. Antoine Griezmann
Yep.
signs in Orlando, which I actually just pulled it up and I hadn't thought about it in a while, but I don't know about you guys. I expected him in Miami at some point, and now not only not in Miami, but at the rival. Like where
Yeah.
did Dax? You may have a little bit more insight on this. Where did this go wrong? How did he end up in
Well,
Orlando?
well, if you guys remember, it was actually LAFC. The rumors for years were
Mm,
he was going to end up on
yeah,
LAFC. And
yeah,
so they had that open designated player spot, and it was always flirting Griezmann. Are they going to get it done? Are they not? He was out of contract at Atletico Madrid. I believe it was a year ago. And he ended up re-signing a new deal with Atletico
yep,
Madrid. Simeone convinced him to stay. And then LAFC was like, oh, we've got to pivot and Sun Heung-min's available. Okay, we're going to pivot, right?
right,
And so
yep.
kind of a no-brainer. I think everyone understands why LAFC pivoted. So then
And
it was
maybe because they struck out on the other French international Giroud.
maybe. Sure. Okay. Yeah, I see what you did there,
You
Gordo.
see that?
Really good knowledge. Yeah, I see how you got
Ja
from A to B
Rule.
there.
Wanted to throw that in there.
Good stuff. Thank you. I don't think it was ever realistic to think Griezmann was going to get down to Miami. His profile, along with Messi's profile, they're great, but obviously both generational players, but they're just too similar.
Mm,
Messi needs to play with runners because Griezmann is a similar
yeah,
profile of player. He likes to
yeah.
come underneath and connect the game and be really dangerous and dynamic from a little bit of a deeper position. And now he's still a great goal scorer, but you can't have Messi and Griezmann dropping deep for the ball and then have one or two people running off them. You need a better balance in your attack. So I just never thought Griezmann would go to Miami. It didn't really make sense from a tactical standpoint. And then
Hmm.
Orlando City, I understand why they did it. They needed to make a splash. This is a team going through transition right now, moving on from Oscar Pareja so early on in the season. And it's gotten a little bit stale. It has gotten a little bit stale and frustrating in Orlando. They're similar to me in the Red Bulls in that they've made the playoffs now for so many years in a row, and yet that was their ceiling. They were never a real threat to go and win MLS Cup. Their best opportunity was 2024 when they played the Red Bulls in that Eastern Conference final, and they couldn't get it done on home soil. They just didn't have that X factor. Griezmann is that X factor. He's
Hmm.
35. He's a little bit older, coming to Major League Soccer now, but he's still playing in the Champions League. He's still getting regular minutes under Simeone. And his numbers, this is the one thing I said on MLS Countdown when we were asked about Griezmann. Forget the numbers. The numbers are great. He's got an elite mentality. He is always available. In his entire career, he's never
Hmm.
played less than 39 games in a season.
That's
Never.
incredible.
So if you pay a guy millions of dollars and he's a big
Yeah,
name, you want him on the field. At
yeah.
least Griezmann, he will be on the field and he's a game changer. So Orlando, the structure around him needs to improve. I don't think they're good enough in the back right now. They're just conceding goals left and right. Now, Jansen's injury doesn't help that, but it's a great signing. He's going to be fantastic for them for at least a year and a half.
So
Dax, do you think, hey, let me ask a follow-up. Dax, do you think that or how do you think this plays out for Orlando? Do you think this was um intentional getting rid of Pareja because they knew because of talks with Griezmann were developing and getting a little bit more serious and to sign him to bring in a higher profile coach because they have Griezmann? Do you think that's a tactic that they're using to get a better coach or a higher profile coach in the summer?
I don't necessarily think so, Gordo. They were trying to sign Griezmann even with Pareja at the helm. So I don't think they're mutually exclusive. I think they would have signed him with Pareja, and now that they moved on from Pareja, it was a timing thing from from Griezmann's perspective. Atletico Madrid is in the final of the Copa del Rey, and they're still in the Champions League. I think Griezmann wants to go out on top. He wants to go out with a trophy. And so the conversation with him was, hey, will you come now at the beginning of our MLS season? Or, because we'll take you, we want to sign you, or are you going to wait till the summer? And so I think if he would have come a month or two ago, I think Orlando would have paid a relatively small transfer fee to Atletico Madrid. But now they're going to get him, I think, on a free transfer in the summer, and he gets to have his swan song, potentially win a trophy, and ride off into the sunset.
Gordo, do you think Pareja's profile as a coach is somebody that could have had success with Griezmann managing
No,
him? Neither
no,
do I.
he's not that kind of guy. I don't know if that had anything to do with the front office, but we all know Pareja.
Yeah.
He is intense. He needs younger players that are going to be soldiers for him and work hard and do all the things. And he's very much a Preki coach. Those two
Mhm.
are hand in hand where they will get the most out of their young, hungry, talented roster for the first 2 years. And then he starts to lose his voice because intensity all the time and that type of demand from a coach is going to get old at some point. At some
Mhm.
point, you're like, bro, this is a lot, right? I remember Preki used to
Yeah.
have practices at 5 p.m. in LA, and
Mhm.
so guys couldn't go out and do all this and and it was just different, right? And
Yeah.
so that you start to lose the locker room at that point. So I don't think it would have been a good fit.
So, do you think that when you look at this signing, do you see this as a good signing for Orlando? Do you see Antoine Griezmann being successful in Orlando? He's a great player. So that's not the question. Do you see him being successful with this organization?
Oh, I mean, it's hard to tell because a player that's going to get put on a roster that's struggling like this, and they're out of sorts. Everybody knows that. It's hard for somebody to come in and do the individual brilliance that it's hard to shine on a team that's struggling so badly right now.
Hmm.
Um, will you be able to see his quality? Yes, but he's been around really good players his entire career. So this is going to
Hmm.
be similar to there's plenty of examples of these stars coming into teams, and he's going to look around at some point and be like, "Yo, this is a lot tougher than I thought because I just don't have the quality around me." Now he's always going to do well individually. I think that it's just an interesting one for me.
Yeah.
Um it's an interesting signing in a club that's really struggling. So I'm really interesting to see how that's going to play out.
Current
I don't think
construction.
he's going to have the same impact in numbers wise, goals and
Mhm.
assists as an Anders Dreyer or a Messi. But yes, he will be successful. He will be a very good player in Major League Soccer. I think his window for success because of his age is a little bit shorter than maybe some of these other guys. But Orlando has to get the structure around him right. Now,
Yeah.
Ojeda, very good player.
Hmm.
Pasalic, very good player. Now, can they balance that out with another really dangerous, dynamic winger that can maybe be on the end of some of his service and on the end of some of his playmaking? I think that's a big question mark for Orlando City. But if you're asking Griezmann to carry an attack a la a Dryer or a Messi, I don't believe that's where he's going to be at his best. I think he's going to put up pretty good numbers. It's just the structure in place around him with stability at the head coaching position and stability as far as the spine of the team getting better in Orlando. That's going to also be a big indicator of if he's going to have the impact they want him to have.
Yeah, and that's what concerns me. Coming into an unsettled environment, new ideas, new coach. As soon as a new coach comes in, now there's new players needed. There's a new system. There's all this. And by the way, there's a learning curve for a significantly talented player that's never played in MLS or never played on a team, below the caliber of Atletico Madrid. And there's also time that it takes to get to a level of comfort. Gordo, Dax, you guys have both played. We've all played with players at that level. They don't they don't find success immediately. It's a physical, it's a mental, and it's an emotional adjustment that they have to make. And that's
Yeah.
to your point, Dax, like he's 35. I don't know. It's going to take some time here. And you're
Yeah.
asking him to deal with a lot of variables. I like
He
having him in the league.
So
I do.
it's very similar to Lionel Messi coming to Major League Soccer in the summer of 23 or 20 whenever he came. Inter Miami was a mess. And he came over with Busquets and Jordi Alba. And yet they were
Right.
completely out of playoff contention, right? They didn't make the playoffs. They won Leagues Cup. But
but he
but
started scoring right away. I
he
mean,
He
he
did.
started,
didn't have
and I
he,
mean, we're talking.
he,
I mean, we're also talking about the best player in the history of the game
We
too,
are,
yeah,
and that's the
and
difference.
coming with three of his best friends.
Yeah, but I think if
Different.
if Griezmann comes over and he gets his feet wet in an Orlando team that maybe is out of playoff contention or not great right away, well, then at least if you're Ricardo Moreira or whatever head coach they bring in, you say, okay, this is what works and this is what doesn't work with Griezmann. After the World Cup break, you're going to have a sample size of, 15, 16 games, half a season to say this is exactly what he needs for him to be at his best and for us to be good.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's still, I don't know. I just think you're asking him to deal with a lot.
he's going to
In
deal with a lot, but I think there's plenty of examples of superstars that have come in and been successful right away. I agree with you. There is this historical feeling that the MLS is not it's different than everywhere else, right? There's travel, there's heat, there's through the summers, there's a lot of things that they're going to deal with, and the parity that it brings. But I mean, you can't say that Messi wasn't successful. Thomas Muller, son,
Mhm.
has been successful right away. There's been, Schweinsteiger was, he was successful right away with
Yeah.
Chicago. There's a lot of examples, but there's probably a lot more of these high
Failures,
profile players that have
right?
come in and struggled for
I
sure.
think the league is much better positioned now to accept world-class
Yes.
talent, and Griezmann is obviously world-class talent. But I still think that he's dealing with a lot. For me, his success is determined on their next 3 to 4 moves, whatever, and
Sure.
those
Yeah,
are significant.
absolutely.
I do. Well, let's talk about the questionable call of the week because this is connected to the bad boys, the Darth Vaders in South Florida, Inter Miami. I think Dax, you had called this one out as your questionable call of the week. We had a chance to review it before we were here. Dane Sinclair basically catches a ball outside the box against NYFC. Yankee Stadium loses their mind. We got MLS folks, Andrew Wiebe in particular, that is trying to defend this decision. I mean, at least my eyes are telling me, my eyes are telling me that's a clear handball, clear red card. See you later.
Yeah.
I don't know how you feel about it, but that one for me is the questionable call of the week. Dax, when you're in these conversations reviewing some of this stuff, give me some of the context that goes around that
Yeah.
conversation, however it's getting battered back and forth.
Well, when let's say there's a questionable call that happens and we're on MLS 360, when the ref is making a determination or when it's going to VAR, we kick it back and forth between us at the desk and we just try to make the most sense of what's happening, right? And with the replays available, now I saw this one a little bit late. Obviously, I was preparing for Atlanta DC United on the call this past weekend, but watching it now, Andrew Wiebe, he makes points that are like pretty cut and dry. This is fact. This is not fact, right? His point is the call on the field, whichever it would have been, should have been the call that stood because there's no great angle where it's clear and obvious. And so there are some angles that are coming out on social media of like fan angles where it's pretty clearly, to me, obvious that he's outside the box. He handles the ball outside the box. But if the VAR does not have access to those angles, well, then the referee and the VAR, they're going to stick with the decision on the field. I
Mm,
disagree. I think that it's pretty clearly outside the box. I think that this happened 2 weeks ago with Maxime Crepeau, and the referee called it. He got a straight red card, and
yep.
Orlando went on to get thumped. Now, Orlando was
Yep.
going to get thumped anyways, but this was a really big moment in the game because
Huge.
Inter
Huge.
Miami ended up going on to win that game, and it was a great game. It was a really back and forth game between, for me, two of the top five teams in the Eastern Conference. So
Mm,
this was a big decision. I absolutely think it's a questionable call. Can you make the argument that it's not clear and obvious? I guess technically you could, but from my vantage point, from my eyes, it's pretty clear that he handles it outside the box.
Gordo, what's more problematic? That at this point we can't trust VAR to have all the angles, or that they
That's the
are.
question, Dan. That's the question. Do we have enough camera angles for them to be able to get all these big calls right?
How could we not though? Like
Yeah.
how could you not? How at this point, how can we not be at a place with VAR where you can send something to VAR and it is clear. It is obvious.
Well,
We can
this
make the
is
call.
to my point. You should just have a camera straight down the 18. Like,
It's
The
crazy.
camera is down the 18.
It is
no, it's a little bit off. It's a little bit off.
it's
Well,
not.
dude, I mean, come on, man. Well, I appreciate Dax answering for me, guards, but what was the question again? I mean, I have no idea.
Hey,
But thanks for
Gordo
doing
had a
that,
record.
Dax.
Hey,
Thank
without
you.
you,
Thank
Gargs, Gordo had a record number of words spoken on the last pod. I just want to make sure he gets back to his
you.
norm, his
He's trying to
baseline
keep
level.
it down.
Yeah.
He's trying to keep it down.
You've been
I,
muted.
I, but I mean, listen, this is not, I don't think this is a camera issue. The camera is in a proper spot. I think it's a decision issue
Okay.
with them going to VAR and
All right,
not being able to
let me
make the
probe it
right
one
call.
step further for you, Gordo. Is this the same refutable call or non-refutable call if it's not Dane Sinclair and Inter Miami? Is Inter Miami getting preferential treatment?
I think people are going to say that they are. And I played on a Galaxy team that I remember Kyle Beckerman would not, and RSL, all of them would
Uh-huh.
never shut up
Yeah.
about us getting every call because we
KB was definitely the ringleader and
KB just drove him nuts. Any
still
call we
probably
got,
does. Still does.
it probably still eats at him. You know,
Yeah.
and he will die on that sword like like you know it.
Uh-huh.
And I lived on one of those teams. It's not. People are going to say that. I think they get it. I think they get it wrong too much. I've seen refs go to the VAR and not just our league, but leagues around the world. EP, you know, like, and you're sitting there and you're looking at it, and they don't make a decision that is what you think it should be. I don't think it's because of Messi. I do think that Messi gets preferential treatment with calls sometimes. I love it when he goes down and the referee has the balls not to call it, and I've seen that more often than not lately, which is really good. However, he's going to get some calls that other players aren't going to get. That's part of the game. I don't think it has to do with Miami. I just don't. I don't think that they're going to get preferential treatment. This has nothing to do with Messi. They're going to go there. They're going to try to make the right decision. They just made the wrong one. You know,
Mhm.
he grabs it. I don't know. I didn't see the VAR and how they can slow it down
They
and
didn't
do
even
that. I
send it
just
to
don't see.
VAR. It didn't even go to VAR.
Well, that's the problem.
That's
That's
crazy.
the problem.
Yeah.
Okay, so it should have went to VAR. If there was a question, he should have been notified and they should have taken a look at it. So it's a systematic issue with
Mhm.
VAR. It's not
Mhm.
preferential treatment.
I agree with
There's
Gordo.
got to be a
I agree
common
with
sense
Gordo.
element to this thing. We
I
can't
don't I don't
remove
think
common
Inter
sense.
Miami gets preferential treatment. I think people love to latch on to that because it is messy, but I've seen plenty of games where, like Gordo rightly points out, the referees aren't falling for some of the soft fouls that he wants. And now he's going to get some calls, he won't get some calls. Inter Miami, we've seen this. This is a tale as old as time. Generally speaking, the big clubs, they are under the spotlight more, but all the calls even out over the course of a season. I'm convinced of that. I'm convinced that it's not preferential treatment. It's just the referees getting it wrong.
I want to tell you guys somebody that got it right this week. So that was questionable call of the week. The right call, great call of the week. I was at the St. Louis City New England Revolution game, and I don't know how familiar you are with this story about Edouard Leuven and
Yep.
his wife. His wife passed away from stage 4 brain cancer. Which has been ongoing. She's been battling it for a while. It's a tragic story. She's young. I want to say she's like 28 or 30, um, and has now passed. Leuven has been kind of in and out of the team, in and out of time away, etc. She's been on hospice for a while, a long while, and ultimately passed. They did a moment of silence, the 10th minute, which I was in the stadium and the entire stadium held up signs and was quiet. I thought that they were going to actually just put their foot on the ball and stand, but they continued to play and you could hear a pin drop. It was crazy. So it goes from being a loud, stadium environment to hearing the players communicate and hearing the talk and going back to like those COVID days where you could actually hear the communication that's happening on the field. Anyway, you're sitting there and watching it, and it is obviously a powerful moment, but um you're thinking, okay, maybe St. Louis will score. It's 0-0 at the time, and this would tie up this moment and be really special. Of course, it goes the opposite direction, right? And New England picks off a pass, closing in at the 11th minute, and is driving down the field, and they're on a 3-on-1, and I'm talking like. I don't know what the expected goal chances were, but this ball gets laid across from the right wing, absolutely wide open, the center forward, and just duffs it. Like it couldn't have been more divine intervention of something that I've seen in my life in person, where it was like, this is a goal, this is happening, this is going to break this stadium's back, and it was painful to watch. You were watching a car crash unfold. And sure enough, I forget who the forward is, misses it, steps over, kind of, plants wrong, flubs it, and it trickles out over the end line. And this is at the end of the minute, and the stadium goes bonkers. Like it,
Wow.
it finally comes, everything erupts and goes from this silence of watching this car crash to it not happening, and the stadium comes back to life. St. Louis goes on to win 3-1 and take the result. And it could be, hopefully for St. Louis, it's a turning point in their season, but it
Yeah.
was, dude, it was special. And I was thankful that I was able to witness it in person. It was a powerful moment. I just wanted to share that with you guys because St.
That's
Louis and the
cool.
way that they handled it was
Very cool.
has been a very difficult process. Gordo, I know that you and I were both around AJ when he was going through with Megan the loss of their son Luca and what that process was. And it's impossible to not feel that. It's impossible to not feel it and to live it every day with them. Um, and to see this kind of unfolding in the same way for years now since Leuven's been here has been interesting to watch from the outside, having gone through that in LA. But that moment was a beautiful representation of maybe where hopefully things can go moving forward. So I didn't want to miss the opportunity to share that with you guys. Hopefully they're on a stock up trajectory. We're doing a little segment, stock up, stock down. And I want to give both of you guys the opportunity to take one or the other. So I'll start with Gordo. You can pick stock up or stock down, but I want you to pick a club. We're a third of the way through the season, and give me your quick assessment.
Stock up. I'm
You can pick stock up or stock down.
gonna
Whoever
I'm
you.
gonna do stock. I'm gonna do stock up. Okay. I'm gonna give two shout outs here. My stock up is gonna be the Earthquakes. Plain and
Yep,
simple.
it's a good one.
They started hot. We talked about them. They got rid of Martinez and Chicho. Is it Chucho or Chicho? Which one?
Chicho.
They got rid of him, right? And we talked about Bruce in at length, and what an amazing job he's doing. Happy to see that, and they're performing, man. They beat a Vancouver team in Vancouver
Yep.
that I wrongfully, shocker, said was Vancouver's. Was why I was picking them over LACFC is because home field advantage
See ya,
was
LACFC.
was it was so hard to play there, and then San Jose goes in there with an absolute banger of a goal. If you guys saw
Uh-huh.
that one,
Uh-huh.
so stock up to them.
Yeah.
I think they're in a good spot. I think they've conceded one goal this season,
Yeah.
so he solidified his back line, which is
It's huge for
typical,
Bruce.
which is typical Bruce,
Yeah.
and he was the first one to sign Omar Gonzalez, who nobody believed that was the right move, and he believed he was the best young player, and he signed him to a DP contract to lock him down, and then put AJ De La Garza. I'm not sure who else they had in that back line in LA. Yours truly, Dan
Ugh.
Gargan. They got Robbie Rogers, but he builds a block of 8, and then he lets his forwards do the thing. Judd's on fire. He's scoring goals. They got a goal scorer that's actually going to be a team player. Maybe the other guys aren't going to do the dirty work like he does. So stock up to them, man. They look
Yeah,
really good.
I love it.
I have to take a moment. That's my stock up, but I have to take a moment and just give the Colorado Rapids a shout because they
Hey,
I've been critical of that organization and how they never seem to pull it together. But this coach has them playing. I like their balance. I like how they're playing. They're getting some great results, and they're looking on the up and up. Both of these teams, I think, are going to finish ahead of where they ended last season. I think they're both going to make a push for that 7, 8 position. And I think they finished like 10, 11 last year. I think they're going
Mhm.
to make make a real push in a very, very tough conference.
I love it. Let's keep it positive, Dax. Give me your stock up. Let's stay
keep it
stocked up.
positive, baby. I'm staying on the West Coast. Stay. Gordo mentioned the Rapids. How about a little Rocky Mountain Cup?
Why
I'm
not?
going with Real Salt Lake, man. I had the pleasure of calling Real Salt Lake against Atlanta United a couple of weeks ago.
Hmm.
And on that call, prepping for the game, Gargs, as you know, you get a chat with the head coach of both teams before the game to get some context, ask some questions that maybe the public won't have access to, just to prep. And
Indeed.
Pablo, friend of the pod, by the way, journeyman friend of the pod,
Yeah.
excellent guy, Pablo Mastroeni. He is so open that it's just remarkable. And
Yeah.
I wish more teams would embrace the fact that if the deeper they go into their roster builds, into their tactics, into their mentality, the deeper we can go into it on the broadcast and like relay that information to people within reason, of course.
Mm.
He was just so bullish on this roster and on this team. And I knew nothing about some of Real Salt Lake's new signings, right?
Mm.
It's so hard to know how new signings that you don't really know about. Maybe they come from an obscure league. It's so hard to know how they're going to pan out. But let me give you an example. Morgan Guilavogi, their new signing. Came from Lens in Liga, and
Hmm.
they're challenging PSG for the title right now. He wasn't getting as many minutes, but Pablo said, "Just wait till this guy gets fully fit, and you are going to see an absolute baller, one of the most talented players I've ever coached." And
Hmm.
then you see him make his first start, and the way that he just like moves throughout the game and influences the game, Pablo changing what they did tactically and formationally. This team looks scary. And then I go
Hmm.
back to their game against San Diego a few days ago. They were on the road in San Diego, who, as a professed lover of everything San Diego right now,
Hmm.
Real Salt Lake played them off the park. Real Salt
Hmm.
Lake was thoroughly deserving of the point and actually should have won the game because they were dominating towards the end of the game. The caveat with that is that San Diego was coming off midweek CONCACAF Champions Cup. Heavy legs certainly played a factor. But one thing that stuck out to me that Pablo said, he said, Dax, I'm telling you right now, when I have my preferred front five on the field, it's the most talented group I've ever coached. And it will be one of the best in the league.
That's awesome.
So that is Olatunji up top. That is Xavier Gozo at right wing back, Diego Luna and Morgan Guilavogi as dual tens, and then it is a young Uruguayan Juan Sanabria as a left wing back. Those
Mhm.
five guys were on the field at the end of the game against San Diego. I don't usually talk, dude. I don't talk like this. They were cooking. It was scary how good they were and how sharp they were and how dangerous they were. So, anyways, Pablo, that entire Real Salt Lake organization, I had them maybe on the cusp of the playoff line. I see them challenging for a top four spot in the Western Conference. Stock
Wow.
Jack,
way up.
how is Diego Luna's numbers this season?
He's been injured. That's the best part. That's the best part about this, Gordo. They've had so many injuries. They've had multiple teenagers start games for them, and yet their form, going back to the beginning of the season, they started the season with a 1-0 loss to Vancouver. They're unbeaten in 4 games since then. They beat the Sounders. They beat Austin. They tied San Diego. They beat a bad Atlanta United team. But regardless, they're starting multiple teenagers. Luna hasn't been fully fit. They're reintegrating Olatunji and Gilavogi, who both were not fit to start the season. It's been really impressive what Pablo's doing there in Salt Lake.
I I love seeing Pablo have success. I think we all Dex, you weren't in the locker room with Pablo, were you?
Never. Well, he
Never.
coached me in an all-star game, but that was it.
Okay.
Shameless
He's
plug. Apologies.
dude, he is one of the best humans, mentors, older brothers,
Yeah.
people that I've ever been around. And I love the guy and the what he's endured. I mean, one of those guys that has continued to lead because he is a genuine leader.
Yeah.
And it doesn't surprise me that he is as candid with you as he is with everybody else. But it still does catch you off guard, doesn't it? When it's like, oh, you're gonna give me all of that information,
Everything.
everything that you're thinking, you're gonna
And
share.
by the way, he was talking about Gozo, just for people that maybe haven't watched Real Salt Lake. He said, "Look, this kid's super talented. He's playing in a new system as a wingback. I think he just turned 19." And I was just asking for info. He's like, Dax, you can see his quality. He's really good. He's technical. He's clean. But the things that you can't see are for a 19-year-old, he's mature. He still lives with his mom.
Mhm.
He literally breathes the game. And he
Mhm.
said, honestly, Dax, he's got a world-class work rate. If you see this kid's numbers at the end of a game,
That's a
off the
lot for
charts.
Pablo to say.
Sprints, leads the team in sprint distance. I mean, is a big thing now for a lot of clubs, right? How often you can get from from your maybe middle gear to the top gear. I mean, he sprints all the time. As a
Yep.
wingback, you got to attack, you have to defend. He said that they're really excited about him. I would be shocked if they didn't get multiple bids for him in the summer.
That's cool. That's great to hear. I love seeing Salt Lake. I love a good Rocky Mountain rivalry too. I think
And
that's a
Colorado's good.
that's a fun rivalry, and I think it's good for the league. So to have both of those clubs on your stocks up is that's a positive. I'll wrap it up here. I'm going to take the easy, low-hanging fruit, but I think it needs to be at least highlighted in Nashville and what they're doing. I
Yeah.
mean, Nashville is for me the top of their conference, knocking off Miami. Now moving on to the quarterfinals, I think quarterfinals
Quarterfinals.
against America and what they're doing in league, just smashing people, taking, one of those DPs in Espinoza from San Jose, where he was almost, kind of discarded. And that's, no, that's not commentary on San Jose. It just sometimes it doesn't fit, right? And Espinoza has been awesome alongside Surge, who has been awesome from an attack standpoint. They're putting goals in for fun, which, against some decent sides, and they
Yeah.
look every bit the squad.
Yeah, they're excellent.
So
I'm
for
glad you shouted them
BJ,
out.
I'm pumped to see BJ kind of figuring his way forward. That's great for them. Fun for a fun town, and they got a long way to go though. That's the only other thing is getting hot. Can you keep this form? But I like where they're at, and they deserve it. So Journeyman, that's a lot of positivity for the day. I like that. I like where we're at, boys. That's not bad. Let's keep it positive.
I love it.
Instead
That's the
of
name of the
Gordo, what's
game.
your favorite? Let's get negative. That's next week.
I've never done that.
We'll
But
save we'll save we'll
Let's
save the
save it.
negativity for next week and maybe build on some stock down. But actually, you know what? We're gonna have to push that for 2 weeks because next week is the international break. We're gonna take off the Journeymen, so we'll see you in 2 weeks. Appreciate everybody, all local journeymen, near and far, jumping in with us. We appreciate you. See you out there.